to the stage Congressman Goodlatte.
Hey everybody, I'm Bob Goodlatte and I've got a question for you. Are you ready to elect Mitt Romney President of the United States? Are you ready to elect Paul Ryan Vice President of the United States? You bet we are. And as Paul Ryan likes to say, and as we've seen across Virginia over the past several weeks, we can do this, folks. We can do it. Do you believe it? You believe it. We can do it. You know what? We have to do it because we can't afford 4 more years of Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Are you with me? You bet. You bet. Here's why. I carry this prop around with me every day. Some of you have heard me talk about it. These are the bills that Congressman Paul Ryan and I and Congressman Robert Hurt in the 5th District and many others have worked so hard to pass, to create an energy policy in this country that will create 1 million American jobs in energy production alone, in coal and oil and natural gas and nuclear power for Lynchburg. And renewable fuels, we can do it. We can do it right here if we had a government that would stand aside and let the free enterprise system, the great innovators of America, do the jobs, create them, and then millions more in manufacturing like this great facility, ACS. Thank you so much for letting us have a little lawn party here on your lawn today. We really appreciate it. An energy policy that creates millions of jobs in manufacturing and agriculture and transportation and every other sector of our economy. That's some of the bills that we passed through the House. And then there are bills here to encourage great entrepreneurs, like the people who built this business, who will create millions more American jobs. We've passed legislation that will rein in the power of the federal government, which is over-regulating every sector of our economy: manufacturing, transportation, agriculture, financial services, you name it. The government is blocking, the government is worrying, the government is stopping the creation of a growing economy in this country, and we've got to change that. We've got the ticket right here with Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan. All of these bills, you can check them out at jobs.gop.gov. All of these bills that Paul Ryan and I have worked so hard to pass, they're all piled up on Harry Reid's desk. You know who he is, the majority leader of the United States Senate. And you know what? Every one of these bills passed with bipartisan support in the House. So this is not a matter of bipartisanship being halted by Republicans in the House. It's being promoted by Republicans in the House. Harry Reid is blocking these bills, and you know what? You can fire Harry Reid. You don't have to go to Nevada, where he lives, to do that. You can do it right here in Virginia by electing George Allen to the United States Senate. We'll win that majority. We'll have the opportunity to pass these bills like the one that I have on this list that allows for drilling for oil off the coast of Virginia. Oil and natural gas. It was included in a larger bill, and it's on this list. But you know what? The most important thing that we'll get out of the United States Senate that we're not getting today is what Paul Ryan has dedicated his congressional work to, and that is passing a budget that balances. We can do it. The Senate hasn't passed a budget in 3 years. We can do it with your help. Don't take anything for granted. We need a real recovery. We need to create jobs. We need to control government spending, and we can do it with your help here in Virginia, deciding this election for Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan. They are 2 great leaders for our country. And how about that debate? How about that debate? Paul Ryan came with facts and ideas for the future of our country. That's who we need in the vice president's seat. The man who is right here waiting to talk to you right now. A great leader, a great American, my friend and yours. Please join us in giving a warm Central Virginia welcome to Congressman Paul Ryan, the next Vice President of the United States.
One cool devil, you mind on the fantasy, living on the ecstasy. Give it all, give it all you got. Come on, give it all you got. Pick it up, move it, give it to the spot. You mind on the fantasy, living.
Hey, everybody! How you doing, Lynchburg? Man, what a beautiful day. Hey, thanks for the ride, by the way. Lynchburg, you're going to help us make Mitt Romney the next president of the United States, aren't you? You know what? I see a Korea veteran right here. Sir, thank you for what you've done for our country. All of those who are here who are veterans, thank you for what you've done to give us the freedoms that we are here exercising at this very moment in this country. I see a cheesehead over here. Kind of makes you hungry, doesn't it? Yeah. Look, I just want to thank you. Mitt and I are committed to offer. Please feel free, have a seat if you're on the Hill. You want to have a seat? I love you too, ma'am. We are committed to giving you the choice you deserve. This is the most important election in our lifetimes, and it doesn't matter what generation you come from. And take a look around and look at where we are. You see, President Obama, he cannot run on his record. He can't run on the fact that we have 23 million Americans struggling to find work. He can't run on the fact that we have 15% of our fellow men and women in this country living in poverty today, the highest in a generation. He can't run on the fact that the economy is barely limping along, slower this year than last year, and last year was slower than the year before that. And so because he can't run on his record, hope and change has now become attack, defame, and blame. He's going to try to divide this country. He's going to try to distract this country. He's going to distort what we are offering in order to try and win this election by default. And guess what? We're not going to let him get away with it, are we? Thank you, man. I'm not going to repeat what he said. Look at where we are. ACS. I just met Mike Shenago. I just met Mike Shenago's son, Mike Shenago. He just told me about their family business, and he told me about the 189 employees they have. This is what we call an ESOP. This is a small business that's successful, that is shared and owned by many of its employees. This is the American dream. The American dream is if you have an idea, and if you work hard, and if you work at a business, you play by the rules, you can get ahead, and guess what? These guys built their business. The government didn't do this for them. Now let's take a look at this example. Let's take a look at the great conveyor product they make here. This is where most of our jobs come from. Most of the jobs in America, almost 2/3 of our jobs come from these successful small businesses. This looks like any other part of America. I come from Janesville, Wisconsin. We have an industrial park. It looks just like this. It's businesses that are creating jobs and advancement and better take-home pay and job security for most of the workers in America. And this business and its employees paid their taxes as people. President Obama is promising that come this January, the top effective tax rate on businesses like this goes up to 44.8%. This one tax increase that he's promising doesn't even pay for 10% of his proposed deficit spending. You see, this idea that all the geniuses are in Washington, this idea that we can just take more from workers, take more from businesses, and spend it in Washington, if this idea worked, we would be entering a golden age along with Greece. You know, overseas, which where I come from means Lake Superior, the Canadians just lowered, where this cheesehead comes from too, same thing for him. That means other countries are lowering their tax rates on their businesses. Okay, why does this matter to us? 95% of the world's consumers live overseas. The product they make here relies on a global economy. They compete with the Germans, they compete with Asia in making this very product right here. And when the Canadians lowered their tax rate to all of their job creators to 15%, when the international tax rate average on our competitors is 25%, and President Obama is promising that the top tax rate on these successful small businesses goes above 40% in January, guess what happens? When we tax our job creators a lot more than our foreign competitors tax theirs, they win, we lose, and we can't stand for that. We've got to get this country back on the right track. We have got to create jobs. We've got to get behind our small businesses. We've got to make sure that they have what they need to succeed and compete and grow jobs. This is what our 5-point plan for economic growth for a stronger middle class is all about. You see, it is not enough for us to simply complain about the president's failed record. It's not enough for us to complain about all of his broken promises, whether it's the broken promises on Obamacare, or the broken promises on job creation, or the broken promises with stimulus, or the broken promises on cutting the deficit in half. We owe you an alternative. We owe you a choice so that you can make a clear decision on November the 6th. That's what our 5-point plan is all about. I see the hats around here. We have a lot of energy in America. You have a lot of coal in Virginia. Let's take use of that energy. Let's use our own energy and put people back to work and make North America energy independent by the end of this decade. That's point number one. That creates jobs. That lowers our gas prices. That lowers our heating prices. That lowers our electricity prices. That increases take-home pay and job security. And by the way, on day one, you know what we're going to say? All that oil in Canada that President Obama is preventing to come in this country, and will go to China instead under his leadership, we're going to change leaders, and that Keystone Pipeline is going to create those jobs and bring that oil right here in this country so we can get to North American energy independence. Second thing, you know, we have lost over 600,000 manufacturing jobs in America since the president took office. We have to have a strong manufacturing sector because that's a backbone of our economy. You can't just have a vibrant economy by just servicing. You have to manufacture. We lost 38,000 manufacturing jobs in the last 2 months alone. A lot of people are out of work. A lot of people are in between jobs. A lot of people thought they would have the same job for most of their lives, but when the factory left, which is what happened in my hometown, there was nothing to make up for it. So for those people who are in between jobs, for those people who are in temporary jobs who want full-time jobs, for those 5.5 million Americans that the government doesn't even count anymore who gave up looking for work, we need to give them the ability to get the skills they want so they can get the job and the career they need for the 21st century. We've got to fix our education system and get these workers good skills so they can get good jobs with good take-home pay. That's point number two. We also have to have trade that works for America. I was just talking to Mike over here on the factory floor, and he was telling me about the fierce competition they have overseas. the fierce competition from countries like China or Germany. You see, when they steal our intellectual property, when they steal our products, when they unfavorably or unfairly favor their industries, that puts us at a disadvantage. We need to stand up for that. We need to make sure that we have trade that works for America so we can make more things here, grow more things here, and sell them overseas. That's incredibly important so that we can have good paying jobs with good recovery. So that's what you need to do to make sure that when 95% of the world's consumers are overseas, we are a country that can compete with anybody if we have a level playing field. So let's go get that level playing field so we can compete with anybody and grow those jobs. And there's one issue that I've focused on much of my time in Congress, serving with great guys like Bob Goodlatte. And that is, we have got to stop spending money we just don't have. We can't keep doing this to our children and our grandchildren. We know without a shred of doubt that this country is on the wrong path. This is not even refutable. We know that for the first time in the history of this nation, this generation of adults is consigning the next generation to a diminished future. We have a moral obligation to preserve the American dream, not only for ourselves, but for our children and our grandchildren. That's why we have to get this debt and deficit under control and balance the budget and pay off our debt so our kids have a shot at the American dream. And while we look overseas, and as we turn on the TV and witness on our TV screens the absolute unraveling of the Obama foreign policy, what we are witnessing is the projection of weakness. And that projection of weakness emboldens our adversaries and scares our allies. You see, if we look weak, our adversaries are more willing and more brazen to test us, and our allies are less willing to trust us. It's a dangerous world. We are at war with terrorists. Let's not forget that. And when you see this administration's proposal for these devastating defense cuts, that not only costs us jobs here in Virginia, but it undermines our national security, our primary responsibility of the federal government, and it projects weakness. If we show that we're willing to cut our defense so much, then that makes it look like we are a superpower in decline. America stands for good. America stands for freedom and democracy. We believe that the best way to keep peace for us here at home, to keep prosperity overseas, is to engage in a doctrine we call peace through strength, and that means you don't gut your military. Your strongest military in the world. Virginians understand this. And again, let's never forget that small businesses are the engine of economic growth. They're the backbone of our economy. The workers here at ACS, the entrepreneurs here, the people who put in the hard work, who come in at weekends to make sure that their product's going out the door, that's what makes America work. And when you see the federal government passing regulation after regulation, whether it's regulations on coal or regulations on small banks or regulations on small businesses, all this red tape costs jobs. All these promises of higher tax increases cost jobs. All this borrowing and all this money printing and all this spending costs us jobs. Get rid of this, fix this, and we can create jobs. It's just that simple. In fact, this 5-point plan, proven pro-growth policies to get behind the small businessmen and women of America, to make sure that we don't have these Washington knows best regulations, this massive debt crisis, these kinds of crushing tax rates, and all of this regulating. If we get beyond that, if we fix that, we know we can hit this economy to grow at its potential and create 12 million jobs over the next 4 years. That's what prosperity is all about. That's what America can achieve if we set our minds to it. That's what leadership's all about. If there is one thing that comes to your mind when you think about Mitt Romney, it is this man is a natural leader. Take a look at just his life. And what's wonderful about this stage of the campaign is finally we can cut through the clutter of all the barrage of negative advertising. You have to understand, the only way the president thinks he can win is if he can convince you to really dislike Mitt Romney. And so he can win by default. It's all he's got. It's as cynical as it gets, and you're not going to fall for it, are you? This is a man who, when his country called and asked him to come and turn around the Olympics, he did that. This is a man who, when he was governor of Massachusetts, where most of the legislators were of the other party, he didn't demonize them, he didn't demagogue them. He reached across the aisle, he worked with them, and without compromising principles, he found common ground to balance the budget without raising taxes. That's leadership. He cut taxes 19 times. That's leadership. That means economic growth. That means under his leadership, unemployment went down, household income went up $5,000. Under President Obama's failed leadership, family household income's gone down $4,300 in the last 4 years. We're heading in the wrong direction. And guess what? You know what Mitt Romney did? He was a successful businessman, and by the way, there is nothing wrong with that. Being successful in business is a good thing. We want people to be successful. We don't look at one another's success with envy or resentment. We're proud of the fact that Americans take risks, work hard, and help others. You see, it's not a zero-sum game in life. We can all grow together. We can rise together. America, the American idea, is a society where if you work hard, you play by the rules, you can get ahead. We call it upward mobility. What it means is, whoever you are, wherever you come from, under whatever circumstance you were born, you can make the most of your life in this country. That's what this country's all about. That's the job of government, is to help people get a head start. We believe in equality of opportunity, not equality of outcome. That means our job, and our founders said it so clearly, look, this is Virginia. Of all people who understand the founders, it is Virginians. Thomas Jefferson said it the best. Our rights come from nature and nature's God, not from government. That's the American idea. That's who we are. That's what we stand for. Our founders secured this, and our veterans in every generation since have preserved this for us. So this is not just an election about more take-home pay or more job creation. It's not just about preventing a debt crisis from turning us into Europe. It is about what kind of country we're going to be, what kind of people we are going to be. That's what this is about. And so what Mitt Romney and I are dedicated to giving you, our fellow citizens, is you get the right to choose this. The choice is really clear. Economic stagnation that promotes more government dependency, or a dynamic, growing economy that promotes opportunity and creates jobs. That's what we're after. That's what we can get. If we reacclaim those founding principles, we will do that. Here is our commitment to you. We will not duck these tough issues. We will not kick the can down the road. We will lead. And we will get ahead of these problems before they tackle us. And we're not going to spend the next 4 years blaming everybody under the sun. We're not going to blame all these other people. We're going to take responsibility and fix the mess in Washington. And you will not see us try to transform this country into something it was never intended to be. You will not see us try and malign those entrepreneurs and small business people who make our economy work. You will not see us try to replace our founding principles. You will see us reapply our founding principles. We will replace this failed government with one that works, with one that gets behind the American people, with one that respects you, because we believe that the government works for we, the people, and not the other way around. We can do this. It is just 3 weeks away. And guess what? Virginians, I'm not going to repeat what he said either. you have a big responsibility. I love you too. Thank you. But on a serious note, you have within your control the responsibility. You're a battleground state. That means many Americans in other states are looking to each and every one of you to help make this happen. You have to find those people that you know that voted the other way in 2008 based on the promise of hope and change. You know they're dispirited. She did it herself. You know they're dejected. Help them. Help them see the choice that they have in front of you. Help them see the choice of a better future, to get back to a path of prosperity, to get our country back toward its founding principles. You have an opportunity and you have a responsibility. And if you fulfill that opportunity and that responsibility, if you help get your fellow Virginians to the polls, if you help make sure that they go and vote early because they can here, you can help look back at this moment and say, that's when America got itself back on the right track. We saw the moment, we fixed our country, and our children and our grandchildren will be all the better because of it. Thank you so much for coming out today, you guys. Thank you so much for helping us. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
One half angel, one